Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the anime movie Suzume on Netflix. And I thought this was okay. It doesn't do anything completely and utterly out there to me, anything really bad or really good. It's just kind of in the middle there. Its main strength is the animation, and pretty much getting you into certain kind of places that are around Japan and everything. But other than that, it really doesn't do much. Its execution's off with me, where everything in the story doesn't completely meld correctly, and the characters aren't delved in as deeply as they could be. Because we're following this character, Suzume. She's in school, and she meets this one dude on the road as she's like going up to school. She lives with her aunt. She's a 17-year-old high school girl in Kyushu in 2023. He's like looking for ruins, and she like points him there. We found out his name is Sauta, and then she's kind of like thinking, what the hell kind of was kind of going on here? And she kind of like goes to the ruins and finds this door, kind of opens it up, sees this kind of weird kind of thing, like what the fuck? Goes through it, but doesn't like come out in the weird kind of aspect, and also picks up this weird rock thing, which we find out later is a keystone, and it kind of like unfreezes, turns into a cat, and runs off. But then it unleashes this weird kind of entity called the worm, and Sauta's job is to pretty much be a closer and close these things before like catastrophes happen, as this worm creates earthquakes and everything. Now, this one deals with the Fukushima like 2011 earthquake and everything, and I don't mind that, and I don't mind it kind of working together with like Japanese folklore and mythology, because you kind of get that, but it's very kind of just inch deep kind of thing, where we find out that there's this worm thing, it does chaos and shit, it's underneath Japan, and evidently they created these keystones, which are kind of like modeled off of kind of yin and yang kind of thing, but we don't really get into how they're created, why this system kind of works the way it does, if there's a kind of better system, anything like that, because we're not supposed to go that route with it, I think, because its main objective is dealing with like Suzume kind of having an adventure, exploring and getting to know Sauta deeper after the one keystone, Daishin? Daijin turns him into a chair that Suzume's had from her mother, and it deals with like her mother dying in the earthquake and her being alone, somehow getting transported into this hereafter kind of place, where we then get weird little time travel kind of thing, which just introduces some kind of convoluted aspect to it, i.e. we've already got all this other kind of stuff going on, and it's just another kind of element that doesn't really add much to this story other than her future self comforting her past self, and it only just kind of pops up towards the end. It's like, oh, okay, this is here. But her and Sauta pretty much are going around closing these doors as they are opening, because since there's no, since only one keystone is pretty much being involved at this point, the worm's busting out trying to create all this kind of stuff. The most enjoyable aspect to me was Suzume kind of going around learning about these kind of forgotten kind of places, and I thought that's kind of where they were kind of going, trying to show that yes, time moves on and everything, but we shouldn't forget about these places and let them be left to rot, because we will then have to deal with the consequences and repercussions of that. But the thing is, they don't effectively tie together the whole kind of worm aspect with that, with these forgotten kind of places. I don't really see a connection other than, A, there are ruins here, that's why this kind of weird door to this other kind of dimension would be able to open up, because nobody would fucking figure out. It's like, because if the door popped up in other kind of places, it would just be more noticeable. It's like, I guess? Like, with a little bit more work of connecting everything together, it kind of would have worked as a better kind of movie, because otherwise I'm just looking at the visuals and, damn, this is just beautiful. The animation is top tier. It's like, holy fucking shit. And the voice acting works very well as well. There's no problems that I've had with those. I mean, shit, I was watching the dub, and Saota's friend is like able to sing along in Japanese with these certain songs that they're got going on. I'm like, that's pretty cool there. Uh, and their travels keep taking them further and further until they get Suzume into Tokyo, and her aunt is like, what the fuck's kind of going on with this shit? And they really needed to do better to kind of build up the kind of friction that was going on with them, because she took in her sister's, like took in her niece, and what that kind of did with her as she kind of put off life choices. But we only get that because the one keystone pops up and makes her say it. So that way we've got the drama and the conflict kind of going on. I'm like, that, all right. I kind of wish that it had been a built up better kind of aspect to it. It just didn't work well enough for me. I.e., I'm not saying that I don't think that that didn't fit in there. It's just, why the fuck would the keystone pop out? Because now we've only, because now we don't have two keystones again, because Saota sacrifices himself as the chair to become the new keystone, and I'm like, are you sure that's kind of working out? Because the Suzume then has a fucking confrontation with his grandfather. He's like, yo, you shouldn't take him out because of all this. And Suzume told Daijin to essentially fuck off, and like she didn't love him. And it's like, oh. But I mean, the cat thing's been like an asshole, but evidently been like leading them to these things. We don't know what like Daijin's objectives were. It's just, okay, are you trying to fuck over the worm? Get out of this whole kind of thing? What are you attempting to do here? And I don't need it completely spelled out in neon fucking letters, but something. Like, I think it was attempting to try and get Suzume's love, but it never could really do that. And Suzume was in love with Saota, so it's like, oh, okay. So she works together pretty much with his friend, who we find out they were taking exams to become teachers and whatnot, and Saota missed his, and they just have a weird little trip with the aunt, and before the aunt gets pretty much taken over by the other keystone thing, and it's like, I'm fucking freaking the fuck out! And Suzume pretty much is able to find her old house and find the old kind of doorway, gets in there, sees the worm thing going freaky fucking crazy as shit. Daijin kind of helps her get Saota out of there and turned from the whole kind of chair bit. She takes the chair and gives it to her younger self. Daijin and the other keystone are able to effectively fuck over the worm, and they go out and they have their kind of good thing. Saota is like, yeah, I'm vastly fucking older than you, but we'll link up later, as he then goes off to continue being a closer. It's like, oh, okay, and they meet up later. It's really kind of weird, because the only main really objective like found throughout this that was clearly done was like showcasing various kind of places in Japan with beautiful art. I'm like, okay, if that had just been it, I would have been fine with it. It's just all these different kind of elements, because first we see Suzume kind of like exploring the world and everything, getting to know these kind of people and these kind of places before it then ramps up to like the more mystical aspect, but not delving deep enough to kind of connect and merge the two effectively enough to have it work, at least in my to my satisfaction. It's like, and I don't mind if people really like this movie. I think there's stuff to enjoy in it. It's just, it didn't work as well for me as I kind of wanted it to. And there's a lot of potential for a lot of the different kind of stories and aspects that if they had focused on one thing or another, or kind of flowed them together better, I think it would have been a really better movie for it. But I still think that it's a pretty decent movie. I mean, the characters are well done, and they just, I wanted them to be kind of like, they're like here, and they could have been like up here, and it's like, it's not that much of a kind of gap, but it's enough for me to be like, if you like characters, I think you'll have an enjoyment out of this one. Just don't expect a lot of deep diving into what kind of makes them tick completely, because it's just like, okay, Saota's a closer. Suzume's trying to kind of like rectify the kind of shit that started happening. So yeah, you get kind of more out of her on an objective level than Saota and her aunt. And then the other dude who's like, I want to be with you, but I'm back here at this shit, before she starts pretty much not completely getting together with Saota's friend, but being like, oh, okay, this wouldn't be bad. I don't know, it just, there's enough on it that just wasn't executed to what I thought it could have been, that it just felt off to me. So I would still recommend it. Granted, it is 2 hours and 2 minutes, so if you feel like investing that time, or at least need something on in the background, it's definitely worth it. I mean, I've watched other things that have felt completely and utterly time wasting. This one does not reach that level. I wouldn't say that, no. But the art and at least the basics of the plot and the characters definitely work pretty well. That I would at least recommend it for, like, hey, you need something to watch or want something to watch? Go for it. So, those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.